Good morning, Holy Cross. Whether you know it or not, yesterday was Veterans Day. November 11th always is on the same day. And every now and then we'll show a video on Veterans Day. And a couple years ago we had a assembly. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to invite Jim Feldman, a longtime supporter of Holy Cross, to talk to us a little bit about a former student, Joseph Arlinghaus, a relative of his, and also a relative of Laney Arlinghaus, and probably quite a few other students here now at Holy Cross High School. But he's going to tell us the story of Joseph Arlinghaus, and I hope you enjoy it. So Jim, can you tell us a little bit about maybe Joe and his early life here at Holy Cross?
Okay, well, Joe was like the fifth or sixth of 12 kids that lived out on Clifton Avenue. And they were a good family, good Catholic family. But unfortunately, during the middle of the Depression, their father died suddenly and left their mother with 12 kids. And Joe went to Holy Cross from the first grade on all the way through high school. He eventually married Anne Sullivan, who graduated a year behind him. And he was drafted. They were married while he was in the Army, and she was pregnant with her child when he was killed. And 75 years ago tomorrow, November 10th, 1943, he was killed in a B-52 bomber that was on a mission to bomb a train station in Bologna, Italy. Their planes were flying in a V formation, and on the way home, his plane was the only one hit. And we didn't really know a whole lot. He was missing in action for like 6 months. And my grandmother, Grandma Arlinghaus, got a telegram in November saying he was missing, and 6 months later they confirmed that he was dead, and he's buried in Florence, Italy. In the meantime, we got a lot of letters. Anne got a lot of letters. She had her son Joe, and got a lot of letters about what happened. They think that Joe was the gunner. And can I hold this picture up of his crew, or does that do any good? Or here's this picture of his crew. And a couple of them were killed. And the letters that Anne gave me that she had gotten from the rest of the crew describe different stories, but they say Joe was a hero. I understand he was one of the last ones to get out, making sure everybody else got out before he did. And he hit the ground alive, they believe, but they never knew whatever happened to him after that as far as being specifically positive. He is buried in Florence, Italy at the military cemetery. I visited his grave. My parents have visited his grave, and his sisters and brothers have visited his grave. His son, Joe Jr., is still alive. He is in Virginia. He's I think he's retired now, though, but he was a specialist in Muslims and Islams as far as working for the Defense Department. His wife, Anne, is still alive. She's 96 or 97. She married Earl Getty years later, Joe's first cousin, after my grandmother insisted she stay in the family and attend family picnics. That's how she met him. And they had 6 kids of their own. Anne has a lot of letters, and we get different stories about what happened to Joe. Nothing, like I say, is definite or anything, though. But we just got some information about 6 months ago. This being, what's the date today? November 10th, 18th?
To the 9th, and on video, I'm not sure what day it'll be when this plays, but...
Okay, well, like I say, this is from my sister picked this up over in Florence. It's just some more information that each of the people that were on the plane had filled out and describing what happened that day. Of course, this was just one plane shot down in World War II, as I mentioned earlier. It's sad that you think that 66 million people were killed or died because one man was elected named Hitler, and my Uncle Joe was one of them, and like I said, my Uncle Al went through hell with the Battle of the Bulge, but they did keep good records. My Uncle Carl told me just this morning that the Germans kept very good records of what they would capture, who they would capture, or what stuff they would do. And I just got these records, and there's a little more information here saying that one man said he saw 7 parachutes going down. I didn't know that until just about 6 months ago. Outside of that, Joe has a plaque up in the hallway along with the rest of the World War II that were killed. And like I said, the 75th anniversary of his being shot down is tomorrow. And outside of that, I don't know if there's any questions you want to ask me.
And I guess just so they were married, and was he drafted? And was he drafted, or did he enlist? Or
he was drafted, and the family had a party for him at the Old American Legion all over here in Latonia, and he kissed all the girls there. Anne told me when I wrote the book, I interviewed her, and she kissed all the girls there, and he also told everybody he would never be taken alive if a situation came where he would be hurt or anything like that or wounded. he would never be taken alive. That's,
So he was married at that point when he left?
no, they didn't get married until he got married in Bohannon's, Texas. After he got drafted, Anne went down there and they got married before he was shipped off to Europe and everything then.
So is the time that I guess before the plane went down, was that the last time that they saw each other? Or just, so their marriage and honeymoon and whatnot, and then he was and so that
She was
and
still
so
pregnant
and
with him. She was still pregnant with little Joe. He never saw his son. He
never saw his son. That's I was getting to, and so just another I guess tragedy of war.
Well, so much back then. It was so. World War II was probably the worst episode of humanity when you think of all the destruction and damage it did. But like I say, Anne is still alive, and her husband's still alive. She married my mom's first cousin after they met at a family picnic, and he's 97. I think she's 95, and they still.
And his son Joe is still alive.
He's still alive. He lives in North Carolina. He comes up for our family get-together once a year. We have a Holy Cross Walkathon where we raise money for scholarships, and he walks in it and everything. And the family's still real close and everything. And then Anne had 6 or 7 more kids when she married Earl Getty then. So their family is still intact and everything, but it's just the way everything worked out.
Okay, Jim, thanks for coming by and sharing that story, and hopefully that puts Veterans Day in a little bit of perspective, talking about a student that's sat just where you're sitting right now. Thanks once again to Jim Feldman for sharing his thoughts about Veterans Day.